Hi, so I'm Eileen Gibson. I'm the head teacher up in Dounby Community School, way up in Orkney. I'm going to apologise in advance if the internet cuts out. We have decided that we should have put an army of mice out to cycle little bikes to keep it going for this hour, but hopefully we'll be okay. And I am joined by...
I'm Rona Black, and I'm one of the class teachers that Eileen has roped in to help her.
Yeah, and we've been roped in by Emma, who's also here today.
Thanks, Emma.
Thank you. To come and kind of share our experiences, really, of trying to give learners a voice and actually give them real ownership and real leadership of change. So it sounds a bit heavy-headed, but it's really not. It's going to be very light-hearted today. I think we have to show you some welcome slides, so I'm just going to very quickly share this with you just now so that you can see. If you can't see, maybe somebody could pop something in the chat and they could let us know. So this is what we are doing today. And yep, there's so few of us. Please keep your cameras on if you can, and if you can mute your microphone unless you're speaking, and you are going to do a lot of speaking today. We've decided that this is more of a conversation than really a presentation, and we're happy to take comments and questions and whatever, either through the chat pane or just as we go along, and if it's been recorded, you won't need to take pictures with your mobile phone. You can apparently check us out on YouTube later on, but you may want to kind of have some bits and bobs of notes and things. So we're going to dip in and dip out of our presentation this morning, but what we're really going to talk about is, well, I suppose I hate using the term journey, but it kind of really is. It's the best word that we can think of to describe it, but it's how we are really building a school and building its ethos, and trying to do it very creatively. And I know it says creative leadership, but I suppose it's more than that. It's that whole package of creativity, skills and leadership. It's not a top-down leadership model in the slightest. It's whoever really wants to kind of take something and run. It's very live. It's very right now. And we're in the process of kind of trying to normalise and use our ideas. So it's totally, I don't even think evolving is the right word. We are involved in it. We are all absolutely in the thick of it at the moment. So this is really just a chance for us to share and have a chat and tell you kind of what we are up to at the moment. So with all great creativity things, we always start with something really interesting, don't we? So here we go.
So we wanted to get a question that would really get your brains going. So if you had to eat two foods together, other than fish fingers and custard, what would they be and why?
You can either type it in the chat or put your hand up and speak. It'd be lovely to hear people. Any two foods you like.
I still can't think of it. I've been thinking about this all evening.
Really?
Still can't think of two.
Just two.
No. People keep telling me like McDonald's chips and
Go on, Amy.
I really like these two things. So I guess for me it sounds delicious, but for everyone else you might all wrinkle your nose. But Marmite and cheese, oh, delicious.
Oh no, I concur. That's a good one. Definitely. Total savoury tooth, not a sweet tooth, despite the bags of chocolate. Barbara, what about you?
I don't know if this is allowed because one's a food and one's a drink, but I really, really like dark chocolate, the darkest chocolate you can get with the most cocoa in it with a glass of red wine. They just go together for me. If it has to be two foods, I'd go for apple and cheese. I like them as well.
Yeah, really sour apple as well.
See, Jonathan's gone for it. That's what like everyone's told me. Chips and milkshake or chips and McFlurry.
No.
I think this just means that I have the taste buds of a 5-year-old more than anything.
I have to say Matthew's one has me a little bit worried. Knowing Matthew, not so much, but...
Sausages and marmalade sandwiches. Wow. That's like Paddington Bear, but with like extra like something. That's awesome. And it's like maybe that's what we need to try when we go south. Is like chips and milkshake. I will do that. I suppose we kind of asked the question because that's it, isn't it? We all ask a question, but everything is always different, and everybody's ideas are always in this melting pot of just imagination and experience and all of the things that go around being creative and how we're leading and driving change. It was me that put the fish fingers and custard up, but for the pure reason that Matt Smith, when he was in Doctor Who, that was his regeneration food, and I'm kind of thinking as a knackered head teacher that might be something I may well try before we get to the Easter holidays. So that was my my thing. I'm just going to switch back very quickly to try and get you the slides to see. This is going to be in and out today, isn't it? Here we go. So when we're thinking about things that we do together, it is that imagination, it is that kind of not having a barrier about where we start. So we're going to set you another wee question now to have a chat about, and it is this one. Imagine you've just won the lottery. And in fairness, that would just be epic right now. What would be the first 3 things that you would create with your winnings in your workplace? Okay, so you can either type them in the chat, or there's a few of us enough today to kind of have a wee think about it. So what would be the first 3 things you would create in your workplace if you'd won the lottery and money is no option at all? I give up work. No, you've got to create. Oh, is it Sarah? Sarah?
It's Siobhan. Sorry, it says S Brown. How official, Siobhan. And yes, I'm at Colliston. I finally found a device that's got a camera and a mic, so I can join in. The first thing I would do is I would really like to build a sensory room.
Oh, nice.
So not even just for the pupils, I think staff might enjoy that at the end of the day too, but somewhere where you've got like low lighting and water trickling and all those sorts of things. I think that's good for everybody. And the second thing I'd like to do, this is a bit crazy, I want to do this anyway without the lottery, is dig a pond in our playground because I just think how much learning you would get out of that. And we've talked a lot about wanting our own little baby ducks. Me and the children, the staff are not on board with this. And the last thing I'd probably do is just build an extension to our building because we're a little country school, so we don't have our own gym hall. We have to go to the village hall, which is fine in nice weather, but in bad days
in the winter.
Yeah, it's not that great in the winter. So that's what I would do.
Cool. Emma, what are you going for?
Well, the gap in Orkney in arts, because I'm not a schools person, I'm an arts person, is performing arts. There is no grant availability for individuals in performing arts. It's a bit of a black hole up here. So money, no object. There'd have to be grants for performing arts practitioners. I'd want to make a black box studio space.
Ooh.
And then I'd want to see how on earth we can get more drama into schools.
We do miss drama specialists. That's like incredibly a big loss, actually.
It is. I do forum theatre. I do drama. Come and get me in.
Come on, quick. That's like booking done. Tick.
Get me in.
Siobhan, have you got another one?
Sorry, that's a historic hand. I'll take it down.
I love that phrase, historic hand. That's just genius, isn't it? What would we choose?
I don't know, I think about this constantly, and it changes. If we were to put it to the staff team, they would say support.
Mm-hmm.
They would say support time. That's what they would plug the money into. But personally, I would go for things like getting a polycrub up
Yeah.
and like more hands-on. We've got a lot of children that would benefit from being able to make rather than sit and learn. So like workshop spaces, things like that would be something that would be...
A better cherry. Oh my God, we will post you one. You need to have that. You're chair obsessed around here. And actually, creative resources, definitely.
Yeah.
I love Barbara's one though, exploratory tactile mysterious nooks and crannies in the playground.
I like
That's epic. Okay, there is a reason for this, right? And we're not we're not just mind you, we're nosy, very much so nosy, but we were also thinking about, when we think about this as staff, are we actually looking at creativity skills and things that underpin really exciting and enhancing leadership opportunities? So some of you have kind of talked about creating that curiosity, like the nooks and cranny things is amazing. The imagination, even like building your duck pond and like figuring out what that's going to be like and how the kids can interact with that. And I love the fact that like a lot of you were talking about exploring different ideas and finding different viewpoints about what it would look like as well. It's how do we start from that point instead of the sort of preconception I think that we mostly go into things with. And that's really our context. We wanted to change the school focus, so it was about being inclusive and it was about being involving everybody, but actually once we do that, we know that we inspire people and that people can use their inspiration to actually drive like really good change. And we focus specifically on building what is it like to belong at Dounby, because the school, for lots and lots of different reasons, COVID and change of a teacher, change of staff, lots of things going on, it kind of lost its place. And I think most schools have experienced that just now because we've been a bit disjointed from our partnerships and where we all work. So what is it like to actually be here, to want to put in that effort to belong and be part of things that are going on, and making sure that every person has their voice in that process, that they can use their inspiration, they can use their thoughts. But actually it doesn't matter if you think, well, Matthew will back me up on this, one primary one thinks the way to improve school and be totally belonging is to include a chicken nugget machine in the school. So it is about having those wild ideas but then bringing it back and discussing how purposeful is that, how can we actually make that into like really lasting change that makes that massive big difference.
By putting in a chicken nugget
machine. Yeah. In fairness, chocolate fountain was the other thing too, but I'm not 100% convinced by those two.
You just need to put wine on the side for a bar.
Wine on the side, yeah, we'll be fine. So so Dounby's a wee school. I say a wee school, it's a lot bigger than my last two. It's about 130 children. We've got about 48 staff in total all around the building. It's a very it has been a really strong part of its community, but like I say, for various different reasons, it's kind of set itself back a little bit, mostly COVID, and it's about trying to get kids to reconnect. And I think also within a school, we almost didn't feel part of being in a school or belonging in that building because we were all in our classes because of COVID, and you couldn't mix and you couldn't do things. So we were trying to think really creatively about how you drive change, but how you get that imagination into it as well. So we started with things like you can see on the screen now. And that's Glenn. And that's how he feels to be part of Dounby School, what it's like to belong, and his emotion. And he presented that at our health week and told the whole school about it and we had a name for it. And he was just genius, wasn't he? Just genius at coming forward about why this was what it kind of felt like. And that's the question that we've been asking, is like, well, what is it like here? What is good? What needs to change? What would you want? What could be different? And we've asked that with staff and parents. These are two feedback things that we've had from parents, and I suppose it's kind of a traditional way of trying to grab ideas, but because we've kind of opened it out so much and everything's been done through sort of little focus groups and video chats and things like that, we actually got quite creative responses back from our families, which just goes to show that, you know, that whole thing about we're thinking differently is beginning to sort of filter through into the school, and having that sense of drive and purpose, but it is really coming from children and families predominantly, and the staff are working away at that too, and how that feels for them as well. And it's a hard thing to describe how you belong to something, but actually children, they have no barriers. They have nothing at all, and they go for it, and they'll come and tell you, actually, I need this, or we could try this, or we want to have this, and this will make a big massive difference to us. And you can see that kind of conversation coming through with families as well. Have I missed anything?
I don't think so.
Don't think so.
The chat's gone a couple of times.
Oh, is the chat pinged? Oh, okay. I go back to chat. Sorry. Oh,
It's
thank you, Barbara. Smiley face. There we go. So that's kind of the position that we're starting from. We're starting from, oh, what has happened? There we go. Sorry. Good old technology. We started from a position where opinion was kind of gathered through questionnaires, through very traditional things, and maybe people didn't always see the impact of what happened and the results of what happened when they came in. Whereas this has been done through conversation, it's been done through actually, you know, where we can't physically be with people, we are virtually with people. And it's been done through just that chat and that discussion, and actually that's where the genius ideas come out from. That's where the important things happen, and that's where you hear what it is that we actually need to do. You know, the kids are telling us very strongly through conversation that, you know, things are beginning to be consistent in school. We're beginning to, you know, have lots of things, but actually we still need to work on lots of different things too. So it's that whole kind of cycle around it, and actually them understanding that when we are speaking, and it doesn't matter what we're speaking about, their point is valued and their idea is valued, and it doesn't matter how it's presented, we will figure a way around doing it. Definitely draw the line at the chicken nugget machine, but we will always have a go at around those things. And I think what it made us think of is that, well, how do we turn this conversation, this thing that's not really written down anywhere, you really sort of have to physically be in the building or be part of the community to really understand it. How do we make that into something that is visual and is understandable and translates, this is what Dounby School is all about, and this is what our children are here for, this is what they want to be here for, this is why our staff come to work every day, this is why our families choose to send their schools here. And I'm just going to say to Matthew, this is the question that we've pinched now. So we thought we would have a discussion with you all about how can you actually bring that feeling into something that physically exists, but has that drive to make change. Matthew's question does it way better than I've just described it, but basically how else can you take something that doesn't physically exist but has that capacity to really affect change? And it'd be really good to hear how you think that might happen for you, and then we're going to describe a little bit of how we started that journey for us. So yeah, how do you make something real that is a feeling and is something that is not tangible on a bit of paper? Any ideas? Total silence.
I just want to...
Got folk typing.
Can I ask the question again? So
Yeah.
Could you repeat the? Yeah, thank you.
So it's about, so what we were faced with when we started really opening up and sharing the ownership of what was going to change or what might happen in the school, is it all became things that they're not easily quantifiable. So they're not things that you can get in a questionnaire feedback form. They're not something that is real, and it's not that it's not real. It's not something that's physically you can just pick up and say, here's the opinion, so this is why we're doing something. It's really about having that broader approach. So it's something that is not, we're not going for vision, values and aims that are stuck on a school wall and nobody looks at, and they're on the headed paper, but actually what do they really mean? We're looking for something that actually is real, is alive, and if you actually are working in that way, will make that massive change, like throwing the brick out of the, we'll say baby with the bathwater there, but throwing that out to make something really happen. Has anyone had to go at it? Yeah, definitely something felt, and it's hard to make that into something that's physical.
We have recently refreshed our vision and values here, and I like what you're saying there, because I think surveys are the way you traditionally go, and with COVID it kind of felt like maybe it was the only way to go, but I wasn't getting anything back really, and I kind of understand why, because I think there's a bit of a pressure. It's almost like a test for parents, like what does school want me to say about values, and so we kind of abandoned that, and I'm quite often out in the playground drop-off time, just for safety, but also to connect with people. And I just started kind of dropping it quite casually into conversation. So it wasn't a survey which was, oh, do you know our values and what's important? We just started talking about things like, isn't it great that we're back together? I really hope we don't go back to home learning. These were the kind of conversations we were having. So then that sort of leads us to, well, then that means that being in school together, that social side of school is really important to us, isn't it? And I just started saying that to people, and that kind of gathered momentum. And then we talked to the kids a lot about being kind when they came back after the first lockdown. I'm sure people have had that. And so that is one of our values. But then we had a visitor to our school not long ago, which is a big event. And everybody, all the children were like, hi, hello, welcome to Colliston. Who are you? I'm so-and-so. And we had a big chat after that about that was brilliant. That was everybody being kind. And that's one of our values, but you're living it because you're showing it to a visitor. So I agree with you. I think it is far more beneficial to have those. Yeah, we could have kindness on the wall as a value, but actually you see it if you visit us. But it's difficult to formally capture it, and I'm finding that definitely, because there are times where we are asked to formally capture things and prove our impact, and I can't put that into a survey or a standards and qualities, but you would feel it if you came here.
Yeah, and do you know what, I think that's the big thing that almost needs to shift in terms of values and ethos, because it is about how you feel when you walk in the playground and you come through the school, and it's about how all those interactions, all relationship based, isn't it? It's all interactional, and it's how all that is, and that's the thing, that we're really driving. We're moving away from, we don't want a physical tagline, that's not Dounby. We're trying to just kind of figure out, well, what is Dounby? Asking those questions. If you had all the money in the world, what would you change in your class? How would you do something different? And having conversations, and it's hard to, you want, an inspector might well come in and say, well, how are you doing this? Well, actually, here's the video of that conversation. Here's go out and speak to those parents, and they'll tell you what they've told me, and having that kind of evidence, but actually valuing that as a process as well, rather than wafting the scared questionnaire that I think sometimes we all kind of do. And it just makes things, and go back to sort of the creative skills, it makes people think so much differently, doesn't it? Because you are exploring what's going on. So if somebody tells you something is not right, you're going to explore that and understand why. Whereas if it comes in a bit of paper, it might be, well, that's a comment that I write in such and such a report, and I don't actually, I might do a little thing with it, but then I don't actually get to the root cause of what's where that question has come from, or if somebody really wants to have, a lot of them were like they really wanted to have more. There's a great comment on our feedback board about children wanting to have more art lessons because they know the teacher in there allows them to create and make mistakes and look at where that takes them and what that looks like for their learning, and they use that. They've said very openly, I take that back into class, so it's all right if I make a mistake in maths, or because then I can use that as a learning experience and then build on it and figure out where I go next. So it's that whole, that's where we are. This is where it is. It's so live. That is where we are right now, is trying to figure out how we encapsulate all of that at the moment. And it is, I can see what Emma's typing, it is the kind of feeling of, it's the feeling of how do you feel when you're learning? How do you feel when you're having your lunch? How do you feel as a parent when you now can come back into the building for parent council? I never want to face that one again. But how do I feel as a head teacher when I go to parent council? It's those kind of things. And, with Matthew's help, we've been running little sort of conversations like this where parents have come, but actually they're sitting listening to the children give feedback about those questions as well as their own. And I think that that's been some of the most powerful things that we've done in the last term, is just really hand that right over and take us out as well, because sometimes when it's you as the head teacher or the class teacher or whoever that is, the principal teacher, it becomes then, I need to say exactly what that is that they want to say, rather than having that imaginative response, that curious, taking an idea and exploring it, having somebody to facilitate. We're really lucky because we're working with Hidden Giants and we have Matthew's support to do this, but we've got somebody who can then really explore what that's meant for them. One of the biggest things was, it's like, I read it the other day and I put my hand up. I probably skim read it and not read it properly when it first came in, and I was revisiting it thinking about this, and actually a child has said in their feedback, it's like, it's a new head teacher and I was pretty scared of what that was going to be like, but actually Miss Gibson lets us come up with ideas and change things, because we give her the why that needs to happen and the reason behind that. It's not written quite as complicatedly as that, but it's that whole thing of like, I've got the ownership, I've identified something, here's my solution, work it out, figure out what we're going to do next about it. And that's that's massive. It's a turnaround as well. It's a shift in not just doing the same things that come up in Higgios 4, sorry HMI, but not always following the same things that come into that. It's actually dealing and working with the people that you are in the building with, and actually having those relationship-based problem-solving approaches. And that's where the creativity, I think, for us is really shown through. Sorry, I'm talking.
No, sorry, I was just thinking Emma's kind of summed us up. And the bottom up, definitely. So that I find, having been here, through the change of headship as well, and seeing, I'm lucky enough to have had the same class for a second year in a row, so seeing the change in them, going from previous to Eileen, and last year if I'd said to them, right, what would you like to change, they would grumble about it, because they were like, well, what's the point? It's not going to change. Why are you bothering to ask my opinion? Nothing's going to happen. They knew it would happen within the classroom, but wider than that, they weren't interested at all. Whereas now you ask them and it's like floods of information, and they're waving bits of paper at you. They're itching to get you to write something down. So like this, and this, because they know, given if it's not a chicken nugget machine, the chances are they're going to see that change within the school, and they feel a lot more empowered and a lot more valued within the school themselves. And that's been lovely to see, because they think, right, okay, well actually it's my school, it's our school, rather than the head teacher's school.
And what we're going to wait to share with you now is almost like, is that reflection of how that has become, because it's not a top-down model in the slightest. I don't even know what kind of model it is. Sometimes I feel like we're all standing in a big circle and somebody takes the lead and then somebody goes back in. Sometimes it's like standing in a big long line and we all go at it together, and everybody's part of that line. So, our cooks are involved, the nursery is involved, cleaners are involved. There's not somebody who isn't part of that process.
Barbara's on it.
Jumped the gun. But it's that whole being, isn't it? And it is. The reason we use Matthew's thing, because it came in an email and actually it just resonated with both of us. It's like, because we have taken something that isn't really physically there, and it's the children. They've thrown the bricks. They've gone, right, that doesn't work, but what are we going to do about it? And, you know, learning's not working for me. How are we going to change that? And already they've decided. So we just stopped. We just stopped learning. No, we didn't stop learning. We stopped doing learning the way it has been done. So now it's all driven by the pupils. So as staff, we don't potentially know what we might be teaching because the children are coming up with those ideas. And that is petrifying, totally petrifying as a member of staff, because you're giving away that ownership and control. But suddenly you've got kids who are like, who've been disengaged, and you saw it physically in the building. You're like, oh, I don't want to go and do this. And suddenly like, oh, do you actually know that this penguin is actually 11.5 cubes tall if I measure it, and it's got a tooth here, and it does this, and it cries out, it gets the salt water out, and suddenly you've got 52 different bits of learning all packaged into the one question that they've asked. And that's the empowering thing. It's just amazing. So I'm going to swiftly move on, because I think we've kind of talked about the impact. We've used visualization because it has come from work that we've been doing with Matthew and Hidden Giants, and we started it off with staff, and we just asked the question as well, what is it like to be part of Dounby School? What should Dounby School be like when we belong here? And what do we see it almost becoming in the future? And we had 3 very different creations at the in-service day, but they all hammered back to the same thing. And it was about, we all belong here. We all have a responsibility to provide and give of our best. We all want to get the best experiences for children, not experiencing outcomes. I hate those phrases, but the actual daily experiences for children. We all want to be part of an absolutely amazing team. You know, I sat back for a lot of this and just heard this discussion about open doors, about community, about pride, about, you know, lots of inventive creations. I don't know if you can see up at the wall behind me, but one of the inventive creations I've kept, because I was just like, it's so amazing, because it's about making those little footprint steps, and suddenly all these doors open, and behind the doors are almost creative leadership skills. It's unbelievable. You know, you couldn't, somebody would try and write a book about it. You couldn't. It was like, it was one of these things that just really came across. And actually what you can't describe in a photograph is actually how that day felt, because for the staff, you maybe comment more than me, but there was a total joy. Yeah. And there was a interaction, and there was a value, especially because we had our janitor there, we had support staff there, we had clerical staff, we had everybody involved in this. We also had cream cakes and tea. I think that also did help slightly, but it was that whole I'm going to use the term, it was like a big hug, and it was a day that just reminded us why we were there. But as me being somebody new in the school, I actually then realised, well, you know what, this way that we're working is actually having a real, I hate the word positive outcome, it's having an impact, it's making a change, and people are changing because they know it's okay to change and develop and grow and build themselves in their own professional practice as well. Yes?
Yep.
Yes. So it also has brought us to this. So well done, Barbara. 10 points. Because we did the same work with the children, and they made Bob. So welcome, like to be part of. So I'm going to escape out of that very quickly. So we hopefully.
So this is Bob. And last week I had a primary 1, a primary 2, a primary 3 and a primary 4 with me, and I had a table filled with, you name it. I went scouring around the school, you name it, it was on that table. I think there was more stuff than table, to be honest. And we had the discussion of what does it feel like to be part of Dounby, and they came up with phrases like, it's exciting, it makes me happy, it makes me feel good. And a lot of them said it was because their friends were here, but also because, well, I like to learn. I get to learn new things, like the 9 times table. That was the big one. So I said to them, right, you're going to make something to show me how that feels. And this is what they came up with. And one of the reasons I love it so much is it's very different. Sorry, I keep putting them the wrong way. Very different to the ones that the staff made, where they were kind of flat, spread out, you know, looking at all the different parts of the school, whereas the children went straight for the emotion. Mm-hmm. And what they explained to me was that because they felt excited and happy and good, that they had to build that emotion. They had to make that emotion to show it. So yeah, we're gonna show you a video of them actually doing this. It's very short. It's about 3 minutes long, but it just lets you see, you know, if we'd done this in August when we were just starting this process, there is no way our children would be thinking in the way that they are now and interacting in the way they are now. And this was 4 very random children. It was just literally, can we borrow somebody from your class? No teacher pre-contrived, let's do this wonderful group and these are the people who will work well. So it's genuinely, it's from the heart. And actually that's, for me, that's what creative leadership does. It allows everybody to work from your heart and work from, you know, the place they once described here in that session is like having Mr. Tickle Arms around the school, and it is that, isn't it? It's that big giant hug that you get. So I'm going to stop talking and let you hear the children talk. So what does your person that you're making, what does it represent?
Kindness.
Happiness. And how are you going to show happiness and kindness?
Because it's going to be really happy with thumbs up. And with flowers.
With flowers, okay. And why did you pick to represent happiness and kindness?
Because it's really like helpful, not like angry and stuff.
Okay. So Ryan and Kim, why is it important to you that we have staff in school? Because Ruby said that the eyes could be the staff. Why is that important?
Because it's to stop bullies and to keep people safe. Yes.
Okay, and Ryan, why is it important to keep you safe at school?
Because if you get hurt, you have to go home.
You don't want to go home, do you?
No.
So Ruby, why is it important to you that you've put both the eyes facing in the same direction?
Because they might be looking at somebody playing happy and they might be a member of staff.
Torben, can you tell me what you put inside the cup and why you put it inside? What does it represent?
I put like feathers, balloons, and a brick, and I put all of them in, and I did it to represent all my friends.
Okay, Ruby, can you tell me what your model's name is?
Bob.
And why did you pick Bob?
Because it's a happy name.
It's a happy name, lovely. And Ryan, can you tell me about, I'm just going to zoom in here. This swirly whirly colourful bit at the top of Bob, what does it represent?
It's his brain, and it looks like he's got lots of ideas in the bubbly bits, and it's rainbow, so it represents happy.
Lovely, okay. Kim, can you tell me about all the colourful bits you've got on his body here and his arms? What do they stand for? What do they represent?
Because the little spiky things here, they're like confetti, and the other ones like for like the happy colours.
So just to show again that he's happy to be at Dounby?
Yeah.
Excellent. And Torben, what about, I know we've spoken about it before, but what about all the bits inside the cup? What do they represent?
Like how you feel and all your friends.
How How are you feeling? All your friends lovely. So he's filled with all the things that make him happy. And Ryan, lastly, why have you got a thumbs up?
Because it's happy and it's extra large with a person on top.
Fabulous.
It took ages to get on. It took ages.
There you go, Bob. So what do you think?
Much happiness.
Huge amount of engagement and happiness, like unbelievable. Do you know what I like though is the fact that he's like, woo,
Oh,
his brain's falling off. But apart from that, I can find it on the floor. Do you know what it's like? If that's how children are feeling about school, and this is us only just starting this process, do you know what I mean? If that's how they're feeling right now, imagine what it's going to be like in like another 3 months or a year, or do you know what I mean? It's an incredible it's just such an incredible visualization of how school is impacting for them, isn't it? Celebration of differences, totally. Like they had to have like about 100 different things in the cup so that because they were all different in school, everyone was different. So they recognised that almost instantaneously, which is just incredible. And it's not a logo on a page. Do you know what I mean? That's to me that's like the biggest thing, isn't it? It's just it's alive, and that's what you need your ethos to be. You need it to be alive and lived. Oh, Matthew's got his hand up. Sorry, I'm useless at these things.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? You can hear me okay. That's good. I'm the Matthew that's been referred to a couple of times during this hour. I used to work with a company called Hidden Giants, a guy called Paul Gorman, but Paul has gone to the Scottish Government, so it's just me. So it's Matthew Sowerby now, not Hidden Giants, but that doesn't matter too much. I've been working with Dounby for a while. I should explain, I'm a social scientist. I'm interested in forces and effects, things that matter, things that cause reactions. And we sometimes think about, tables and chairs and buildings, things we can see, but there are forces and effects that have just the same capacity to affect us as a flying house brick. That was my line that Rona and Eileen took. And it's very difficult to say, well, what forces and effects are there? So the modelling process is something that I do a lot, where I take people through a process of building a model from rubbish or Lego or whatever it is. But when people start to work through the model, people start to say, oh, no, not like that. And they start to make changes to the model, and they arrive at a collective shared understanding of something that quite often can't be seen, which is how a school works, the relations within it, the components and how they connect. And so the process has extended through, and Eileen and Rona have taken it to the kids who have built Bob, which is a way for them to express what it feels like to belong to Dounby. And we stick within word-based ontologies. We stick within language. We can speak it and say it, but quite often we feel things that we can't find language for. And so the visual modelling is a big part of this, and very successfully has enabled the kids to make a model to show us something that is otherwise very difficult to represent. So that's Bob. That's the academic technical stuff, but that's what underpins all this.
Way better than I could describe it, thank you. But it's something that like already the group that did it picked up that actually we need to do more Bobs, because well, Bob needs friends for a start, but actually then we would know all these different things about how lots of different people feel about school. And when I first was, just before I was coming up to Dounby, and I'd spoken to Emma about potentially continuing the work at the school with Hidden Giants, that was one of the things I said to her. I said, I want to develop an ethos, a vision, a value, whatever you want to put the terminology onto it, but I want it to be real, and I want it to be living, and I want it to be owned and shared and just part of Dounby School. And actually Bob is way better than anything that I don't think I even imagined in my own head. And I don't want them to become something different. I really don't. It's somebody who's technical needs to come and figure out how you make them into a thing that you can use. But like, he is, to me, he is where we are right now, and it's something we probably will keep revisiting and keep looking at again and adapting and changing, you know, as new P1s come in and you've got a new P7 group and you've got all these different things. It's going to be living and it's going to be breathing, and he's going to be different. And I think that is how a school should be. Full stop.
Evolution of Bob.
Yeah, the evolution of Bob. Yeah. I'm sure there's a cartoon somewhere in there. I have no idea, but it's that kind of journey. It's that place we were at. I wrote down somewhere on my notes. Where is it? Gosh, it's at the start. I wrote down that actually what it's done for us, it's involved everybody. It's made us curious about life at school. It's given us scope to use our imaginations and, you know, that horrible phrase, think outside the box, but literally think outside the bob, I think will be our new phrase at Dounby. But it's given us, you know, it's given us ownership. It's shared. I had almost a full class worth of children came in to visit Bob on Friday afternoon because the 4 of them had gone away and they had said, you never guess what we've done, and it was just this sheer joy and excitement and the power of it. And I was on a really important phone call. It's just awful. And then they come and they're like, oh yeah, it's fine. And off we go. And we'll just look at, we'll look at what's going on and what it's like. So they own their school. You know what I mean? I did have to say to them, can we just do it really quietly just for 2 minutes? And I said to the person, I need to hang up. I'm really sorry. I've got children. They're more important. Bye-bye. And like, that was like, just I don't know, just the most exciting thing ever. And like loads of staff went past and went, that open door policy you've been going for? Yeah, I think we've hit that one. And you're like, but that's it, isn't it? They can come in here. They were talking about Bob, but about what Bob might do, and Bob might help do playground games, and Bob might help. And already they're beginning to think, they're evolving Bob and how that's going to go. And I had another slide that says, so what do we do now? And to be perfectly honest, we keep the open conversation going. We keep that consistency of always asking, always thinking what's next. But we use creative ideas, and they can be from children, from family, from staff. It really, they come from lots of different people and places, and people should have that feed into your school and have that power to know, if we want to do something, then it's going to be listened to, and it's actually, it might be something we explore and it's not going to work, but we're always going to explore it and we're always going to value it, and it's always going to be the Dounby way, because then we want to belong and be part of it, and we want to see the change. And we want to hear people coming into school saying, God, you hear a buzz of learning around the school, and that's it's a big step forward in 8 months, and it's huge. I think you probably have to have a video in August and a video now so you can see the difference. But actually, the difference genuinely is that children are learning. They want to be here and they want to be part of this school, and their families want them to come, and that's massive. And it's not necessarily the point that we started off with in August. And if we are just using creativity and creative leadership skills and can see that change in 8 months, just imagine where we're going to be years from now. Just imagine where it's going to be, full stop. So that's how we belong to Dounby. Thank you so much for turning up and listening.
That's fabulous.
Can I add something else?
Yeah, you'll go for your life.
Can I just add that from my experience, I spend a lot of time in a lot of schools, and there are visions and values posters in the foyer, and kids tell me that they sometimes don't mean very much, these posters, but what you've created with Bob is the lived experience of those values that the kids have had a chance to put together, not just in 2 dimensions on a poster, but actually explored what they mean and how they work. And the lived experience becomes much more important than the token gesture of making the poster of values that everybody walks past. So wonderful, fantastic, delighted to be working with you. I'm very proud of what everybody's doing, so thanks.
Barbara, hold on to this recording. because this is what I need to submit for our funding.
We've got the evidence, Emma.
Thanks.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
No,
No, it's been
I
such
just
a good
referred to
session.
that on the form.
Yeah, we'll just attach the file. That's it. That's your evidence. No, it's been absolutely brilliant and so, I think, inspirational, in fact, you know, and the passion that it's just shining out of you, you know, the excitement, the passion, the drive that you want to take this forward. So thank you so much. I think it would be lovely. We've got maybe 4 minutes if anyone has any questions or anything else they'd like to add.
If you want to come and visit, you're more than welcome.
I'll book my ticket.
Absolutely.
I've got a spare bedroom, Barbara.
Oh,
Always
thanks.
welcome.
Oh, thanks, Emma. Hey, you might regret you said that.
I will never regret it, Barbara. You are always welcome.
Anyone else? Any final comments? I want to meet Bob properly in the flesh.
I like this.
And I think I will as soon as I walk through the door because I think I would just feel it.
Our kids would come.
You say that though.
Yeah.
Eileen, thanks so much. That was just brilliant. I can't believe you managed to pull that together with all the COVID hassle you guys have had.
But that's where like a living, breathing ethos works, because it's just what you do, and it's just part and parcel of it. And you know, all the other things almost become this add-on, the bit at the side, don't they? It's that experience, and yeah, and we love it.
You can tell. We can tell. I'm afraid there is the obligatory evaluation form to fill in, but I'm sure that we'd all want to be just putting in writing, you know, how positive we felt about this session, and we'll make sure to feed that back to you, Eileen, and your staff.
Thanks.
If you want to make a model instead.
You could make a model of how you feel.
Ah, there's a challenge.
There's a challenge.
I think that's what the evaluation should be now.
Make a model, photograph it, send it in.
And he has to be as happy. No, he doesn't have to be as happy as Bob, but it'd be amazing. Oh, and thank you. I will have fun in Grimsby. I'm going to see my family, so I haven't seen them for nearly a year, so it may be better actually go and visit, but I'm looking forward to it.
Hope you have a lovely time. Stay away from COVID so you can get there. Okay, we'll hope to see some of you maybe later today or at other events, other sessions, during the week. It'd be lovely to see some of you, but I just, again, thank you to Eileen and her staff